Welcome to Ostend in Belgium for the first day of the 29th IAF World Cross Country Championships. I'm Peter Matthews and I'll bring you the highlights of the 6 races held over the 2 days of this competition in very muddy ground indeed. That's the timetable for day 1. And we start with the women's junior race. This race has been dominated in recent years by athletes from Kenya and from Ethiopia. Indeed, from 1989, these nations have been completely dominant. Kenya winning 9 times and Ethiopia 3 times. And as the custom pattern, as the athletes plough through this very heavy, very sticky mud of the Africans right at the front of affairs, Mosi of Tanzania taking an early lead, with some Japanese athletes also up there, Tagayo. But look at that, 4 Ethiopians. This is a team competition. Each team can have 6 runners with 4 to score. And already Kenya and Ethiopia absolutely dominant in that leading group as we come to the last lap of this race. This is number 847, Frida Domangoli of Kenya, who was 6th the previous year. Notable feature is that many of these athletes in this leading group were indeed prominent the previous year. 846, Vivian Cheriot, last year's winner. Viola Kibiwott, number 850, the other Kenyan, who was 3rd last year. And already coming into the finish then, we've got 846, Vivian Cheriot, as I mentioned before, 748, Bibichi Negusi, who ran so well on the track last season, coming at the finish, but it's Kibiwott who just takes it on the line. A very close finish indeed. Kibiwott for Kenya, just taking it from the Ethiopians Abibech Negusi and Aster Bacha. And then further Kenyans and Ethiopians absolutely dominant, taking the first 10 places in the race. But Viola Kibiwott, 3rd last year, just getting it on the line. Good packing further down from the Japanese team, who've been 3rd in the previous 3 years and look as if they might get it again. So Kibiwott of Kenya, the junior world champion, from Negusi of Ethiopia and Bacha of Ethiopia. With Ethiopia just taking the team title from Kenya, those 2 nations dominant, and Japan 4th, or rather 3rd for the 4th year running. Well, just look at this horrible muddy conditions. One might feel that it would favour the Europeans, but no, the East Africans, Ethiopia and Kenya, again showing that they can run on any conditions. The local team, Belgium, will be hoping to go well in this, the men's short race. This is over 4 kilometres, a distance that was introduced by the IAF to these championships in 1998 to give a chance to the middle distance runners as well as the long distance specialists of cross-country running. So we now have championships at both long distance and middle distance for both the men and the women. The men's race held over about 4 kilometres. And again, Kenya and Ethiopia have been totally dominant. Kenyans, in fact, 1st, 2nd and 3rd in 1998 and 2000, and 1st and 2nd in 1999. And it would be a surprise if there was anything different in this race today. And again, those red vests and black shorts of the Kenyan team prominent early on. The runners include John Kibiwen, twice the winner of this event, 1998 and 2000. He wears 316, but head up now, number 324, Ben Limo, distinguished track runner and indeed the other winner of this race before he won it in 1999. But just look at that horrible mud there. Very wet. Not so bad actually in terms of there is some support for the runners a little bit further down below that sticky surface. 324, Ben Limo prominent, the other Kenyans. Enoch Koech, 320, a youngster just in the lead now. He's a newcomer to the Kenyan team, but he won the Kenyan trials at 4 kilometres. Any man who can do that will obviously fare well. And just behind him, representing Ethiopia, Kenenisa Bekele. He too ran very well indeed, right prominent in the senior ranks and the track last year, and now running in the short race for the first time, having been prominent as a junior before. So that's the end of the first lap with the Kenyans, the Ethiopians, Bulami of Morocco, the top steeplechaser, also going well there, 4.67. John Yuda of Tanzania, 5.27. Brad Hauser of the USA. The Americans having quite a good day. Their team packing quite well in this race as we look down as the runners spread out, but the Europeans certainly well back off the pace in this men's short race, with the Africans from Kenya and Ethiopia dominating the early positions here. 3.20, that's Enoch Koech, running for Kenya for the first time in these championships, with more experienced runners around him. 3.24, Ben Limo just behind him. Then Bekele of Ethiopia. Also Hailu Mekkonen, who was the junior champion in 1999 and the world indoor record holder for 2 miles. He wears number 190. 3.14 on the inside, Cyrus Kataron of Kenya, third in the World Junior 5,000 metres last year. But already they're stretching well away from the field at about just 3/4 way through this men's short race. You can see how the teams are going. Certainly Kenya and Ethiopia look to have got the first 2 places wrapped up amongst them. But the Americans going quite well. Moroccans also. They might contend with the Ethiopians. But look at the ranks of the Kenyans up there. All 6 members of their team in the top 10 placings. Mekkonen 190, just losing a little bit of ground there. So to 181, Dagny Alamu, the other Ethiopian, 6th in the Olympic 5,000 metres. But it's the 2 youngsters at the head of affairs, Enoch Koech of Kenya and Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia. Then Cyrus Kataron of Kenya. This is 3.20, Koech. Looking very good indeed on his senior international debut. Opening up a bit of a gap now. This could be crucial in such a short race. Seems to be bidding to get away, even from his teammates. Kataron following. Then 3.24, Ben Limo. Then the Ethiopian Bekele. Kenya 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6. They're surely on their way to yet another team victory. It'll be 4 in 4 years of this short course race. A couple of Ethiopians prominent, but can't quite see their 4th man at the moment. They may just be struggling a little bit for the 2nd place against the Moroccans, who are packing very well indeed. Quite misty here, murky conditions. Spectators quite difficult to see the runners. And this is a very sticky part of the course there, going through that muddy bit. Some parts of the course a little bit higher up. Very slippery at this bottom part of the course. But less than a kilometre to go now to the finish. Koech of Kenya, Limo of Kenya, Kipketer, Sami Kipketer, the 19-year-old, he's up there, 3.18, 2nd last year. But it's still this youngster, Enoch Koech, Bekele of Ethiopia, Limo of Kenya just ahead of him. Coming in, turning round, they'll be seeing the finish very shortly, and Koech certainly seems to be able to cope with these sticky conditions very well indeed. And Craig Mottram, the young Australian, running absolutely brilliantly in unexpected conditions, because he'd been running in Australia, and indeed he came across to Lisbon for the IF World Indoor Championships, where he was 8th at 3,000 metres. So running really well as Enoch Koech comes in to win the men's short race title in these World Championships. A brilliant run. He's led for a substantial part of the way. And Enoch Koech of Kenya striding out for home, looking really good. The battle on for the minor places behind him. But Koech seems to have got it really won, as he can see the finish in sight. Battle on behind him. Gaining ground a little bit, but they've left it too late. Koech has really got away. 3.24, Ben Limo behind him. 3.14, Cyrus Kataron. And on the left of the screen, Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia. Koech is being caught, but he had such a lead. I think he's going to make it all right to the line. Bekele running on his own, the Ethiopian out on the left of the screen there. But Koech it is who's going to come in to take the title. Enoch Koech of Kenya wins it. Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia in 2nd. Ben Limo, Sami Kipketer, Cyrus Kataron, Albert Chepkurui. The Kenyans finishing in close order behind. Then John Kibbewen, the previous winner, ahead of Craig Mottram. Then Boulami of Morocco, the steeplechaser. Hailu Mekkonen of Ethiopia, expected him to come a little higher. And then more Moroccans, they're packing really well. Adil Kaouch, who was 5th in the World Indoor 1500, and Mohamed Said El Wadi, just ahead of another Ethiopian, Dagny Alamu. So the 3 African nations, Kenya, Ethiopia, Morocco, have packed in all their runners in the top 20. Americans going well, Brad Hauser through the line, Tim Brough and Andrew Downing also close up. Then the first European, Luciano Di Pardo of Italy. He's coming in 20th place as the rest of the runners now flock through, and the officials do their best to sort them out at the funnel there. And in a short race cross country, always very difficult indeed to sort out the athletes. But here is Enoch Koech of Kenya, making a brilliant debut on the international scene by taking the IAAF short race cross country title. Bekelia of Ethiopia 2nd, then the massed ranks of 5 Kenyans in 3rd through to 7th places before the brilliant run of Craig Mottram of Australia in 8th place. Kenya took the team title quite easily, and Morocco just came up to beat Ethiopia for the silver medals. So here's the presentation ceremony with Enoch Koech taking the gold medal. A nice check for him too of the prize money that is now awarded for individuals and teams in these IAAF World Championships. Kenya once again dominant, as is nearly always the case in World Cross Country. Certainly they have always been the team winners of the short race championship. And Enoch Koech, yet another star to add to their great team. Ben Limo, Sami Kipketer, Cyrus Captron, Albert Chepkurui ensuring Kenya of team victory. Well, now we come to the women's long race with Paula Radcliffe, who's been so near for so many times in recent years, but not yet winner of a senior title, heading a British team which will be hoping maybe to have an outside chance of getting a high position, perhaps even a bronze medal. Kenyans, of course, were starter favourites, having won the event 6 times between 1991 and 1998. Ethiopia also have 3 wins, including over the last 2 years, and their very fine team, headed by Getty Wami, the winner of this race twice before, in 1996 and in 1999. Belgium's hopes, headed by Anja Smolders, who is 7th in the European this year, as the women now run on this long race through this sticky mud. Kenyans already working hard. There's Getty Wami of Ethiopia. Paula Radcliffe just on the left of the screen there. Just behind her too, Liz Talbot, her clubmate at Bedford in England. Liz Talbot, who was 8th in the European Championships this year. Now 4 minutes into the race, number 844, Lydia Cheromai, who won the junior race at the age of 13 back in 1991 and is now a top name in senior ranks, 4th last year. Already at this early stage of the race, the runners pretty well spread out, as it's Chepkemei who leads from Getty Wami. Paula Radcliffe up there in the leading group. 741 is Marima Dembobo of Ethiopia. Very distinguished record, 6 times placing in the top 10 in this World Championship. And that is what happens if you slip in this nasty, sticky mud. So still Cheromai in the lead from Wami, then Radcliffe, or rather Dembobo in second, Wami back in 4th, the 2 Ethiopians. Tina Drossin running well for the USA, Olivera Jevtic of Yugoslavia well up there. And already they're really well spaced out. 839 Sally Barsosio of Kenya just going through, the former world champion at 10,000 metres on the track. It's Radcliffe now on the right of the picture, just forcing the pace a little bit with Cheromai. Susan Chepkemei of Kenya, Pamela Chepchumba of Kenya also up there. Wami just biding her time. The small figure in third place now in the green and red of Ethiopia, fourth place now I should say, as Radcliffe stretches them out. Radcliffe leading from Pamela Chepchumba wearing 8.41. The other Kenyan 8.43 Chepkemei, 8.44 Cheromai. Two Ethiopians 7.51 Wami and 7.41 Denboba. But what a brilliant record Getu Wami has in these championships. In the last 6 years, 5th, 1st, 3rd, 3rd, 1st and 2nd. And of course she's the Olympic champion. Now, Paula Radcliffe took the hearts of everybody, both in the World Championships in Seville at 10,000 metres and also in the Olympic 10,000 metres. 2nd and 4th respectively on those occasions. As we just see Belkacem of France going through. But Smulders of Belgium also well up. She'll be getting plenty of support. But no, Radcliffe took the hearts of everybody. She didn't win. She really made the 10,000 metre races in the last two major global challenges at 10k really memorable occasions. But Wami has this wonderful finishing kick, and Wami is just content to sit just behind the much taller figure of Paula Radcliffe as the two Kenyans, Cheromei and Chepkemei, strike out. Both of them very good records in this race. They were third, Chepkemei, and fourth, Cheromei, last year. And this year in the Kenyan trials it was Cheromei, Chepkemei and Chepchumba in that order. Neil Mallet just going through there on the shoulder of Belkacem. She was sixth last year. It's a group of four, with Radcliffe trying to find better ground, not I think very successful, still slopping her way through the mud on the right of the screen. Everyone trying desperately to find just a little bit of firm ground, but it's almost impossible in these conditions. A 7.41 Denboba, just slightly off the pace now, I think, off the leading five. The three Kenyans, Wami of Ethiopia and Radcliffe of Great Britain. Then looking back down, you can see Belkacem of France just at the top of the screen there. She's accompanied by Jevtic of Yugoslavia. Smulders of Belgium running well. A little bit further back, Marui Ketio of France, and then Drossin of the USA. Certainly the Kenyans packing well once again. The Ethiopians are winner of the last two occasions. It looks like the Kenyans may well regain the title they last won in 1998, because they've got four runners in the top 10 to 2 by the Ethiopians. But Radcliffe it is, still pushing on, pushing on. Radcliffe, who won the junior title in 1992 and has twice been second in the senior race in 1997, 1998, third in 1999, fifth last year. Great record. But this is the title she really wants to win. She's been a wonderful star of cross country ever since emerging from the junior ranks. And now at the age of 27, she's in terrific form. But once again, Lydia Cheromei has taken up the running. Wami still looking composed in the green vest on the right of screen, just behind these two. Radcliffe, Cheromei, Wami. At 3/4 of the way through this race now. Passing some back markers way down the end of the field. One of the Uzbekistan team will soon be eaten up by the runners going past. Radcliffe 7.80, 8.44 is Cheromei. Cheromei, one of the very few athletes, well, both Cheromei and Chepkemei inflicted Radcliffe's only defeat of this cross-country season in Belgium, in Brussels, in December. Radcliffe had only just returned to training then, having won the World Half Marathon title at the end of last season. But since then, Radcliffe has been dominant. She won in Tourcoing, she won in Seville, she won in Concert in big cross-country races this year. But now Wami on the inside, just coming up to Cheromei. Looking back down the field. All these back markers being passed now by the big four, still the four together. Radcliffe once again going wide on the right, as she has on previous laps of this course. Unable really to get away. She'd love just to get away from Wami, because Wami's got this sprint finish which has seen her come from behind Radcliffe and win major titles, both on cross country and on the track in recent years. Fighting hard is Cheromei, 8.44, always wanting to take the lead. Chepkemei maybe just dropping a little bit off the pace, but these four well clear of the rest of the field now. Chepchumba, the other Kenyan, has been dropped. Further back, it's Mallet of Kenya and Belkacem of France. Still Radcliffe pushing on, but Wami just sitting there. Beautifully fluid runner, struggling of course for that in the sticky mud conditions that we have here in Ostend. And you can see now quite a gap opening up. Chepkemei still struggling there, number 8.43, to keep in touch. Quite a gap then back to Chepchumba of Kenya. And further back still, the rest of the field. The battle on then between these three. Radcliffe still striking out, but Wami looking smooth just behind her. So ominous with the sprint finish that she can produce. Radcliffe has just increased the pace on that last lap, slightly faster lap there. Just around a kilometre to go now to the finish. Radcliffe and Wami, the big two, getting away from the rest of the field. Cheremai seems to have yielded to them now, and as suddenly as Radcliffe has injected the pace, these two are really going away. Chepkemei is well behind. What a battle. Radcliffe, who was outkicked by Wami for the Olympic title, for the world title, and in recent major world cross-country titles. The Wami was beaten by Radcliffe. She was third in 1997 and 1998 when Radcliffe was second. But Radcliffe will know that she's struggled to shake off the best of the rest. She's done it to all the field except for Wami. Sinkala of Zambia, number 1003, the next to be lapped. You can just see the way that a different tempo that the top women athletes like Radcliffe and Wami have compared to those that they're coming past and lapping. And, there's just over 100 runners, and these are runners around the 100th place that are being lapped now. As they come round towards the finish, it's still Radcliffe in that mud ahead of Wami. Wami has throughout the race been content just to stay on the shoulder of Radcliffe. She knows she's got a super sprint finish, but Radcliffe is so strong now. She's had a wonderful year since the Olympic Games. She went and set a European record for half marathon in the Great North Run. Then she won the World Half Marathon Championship. She's been terrific form on the country, but Wami still just behind her. Radcliffe and Wami well clear of the field now. The finish in sight of this women's long race championship in the IAF World Cross Country Championships. And what a race this is between the two of them. Radcliffe and Wami. Radcliffe working so hard, head bobbing, the fluid style, much shorter Wami coming up alongside her. And this is perhaps a crucial point. Wami is now coming up alongside Radcliffe, looking to go past her with that sprint finish we've seen so often from Wami. Is she on her way to a third World Cross Country title? She looks round. Radcliffe is not beaten. Radcliffe is still fighting alongside her. Wami and Radcliffe almost stride for stride now, coming in towards the finish. What a race in this World Cross Country, and Radcliffe goes back again, and Wami looks down, and it's Radcliffe who has come back again. Wami went past her, and it's Radcliffe coming onto the finish. Oh, what a race in this World Cross Country Championships, and Radcliffe is the champion for the first time. Geta Wami has to settle for second place. Brilliant, 6 successive top 3 placing, and behind her Cheremai and Chepkemei, and then Chepchumba. So the team title assured for Kenya. Leah Mallet coming in 6th place. Kenya have won the team title, but Paula Radcliffe adds the World Cross Country title to the World Half Marathon title that she won last year. And in so doing, she becomes the first woman ever to win both junior titles and senior titles in the World Cross Country Championships. Junior champion way back in 1992, and now at last achieving her ambition of winning the world senior title. Here is Mallet coming in 6th place, then Belkacem of France in 7th place. A good run for Belkacem, second European in the race, and the first, of course, Paula Radcliffe, who's just congratulated there by her husband Gary Locke. Paula Radcliffe, the winner for Great Britain. Getawami, the silver for Ethiopia, and the bronze medal taken for Kenya by Lydia Chepkemei. Kenya win the team title. Very close for the other positions. Ethiopia, France, Great Britain, second, third and fourth. Well, Paula Radcliffe absolutely delighted to stand up there now on top of the podium. 2 seconds and a third in Senior World Cross Country Championships before. Now the gold medal, presented by the IAAF General Secretary Istvan Gulay. World champion now on the cross country, rode last year, and she'll be very much hoping to add the track title for Great Britain at this year's World Outdoor Championships in Edmonton in Canada. What a record Getawami has too. 6 successive podium positions. Lydia Cherema taking the bronze medal for Kenya. She was the World Junior Champion in 1991, just 1 year before Radcliffe. In fact, Cherema was third on that occasion when Radcliffe won. So day 2 now of the World Cross Country Championships. The men's junior and long course races and the women's short course. 5 degrees Celsius, that's pretty good for cross country, but once again, it's very muddy. The runners, of course, trying to keep warm before the off. 5 degrees Celsius is not what they're used to. So this is the first race of day 2. Getting out overnight and trying to take as much water as possible away from the course so that maybe slightly less sloppy conditions underfoot, as once again the Ethiopians and the Kenyans settle in at the head of affairs. Kenya have won this junior men's race each year from 1988 to 1997, and then again 1999 and 2000. And Ethiopia, the winners on the other occasions that the Kenyans haven't dominated. Winner in 1998 and then back in 1987. But the Ethiopians, in fact, been the first 2 for the last 19 years, such as the African dominance of cross-country running, and nowhere more particular than in this junior men's race. Amongst the runners here, we've got the 1 and 2 from last year. Robert Kipchumba of Kenya, who wears 317. And Duncan Lebo of Kenya, who wears 323. There's 323 on the left of 182. Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia, Ethiopian junior champion this year. Both these 2 men were silver medalists in the World Junior Championships in Santiago de Chile last year. To Bekele was the silver medalist at 5,000 metres, and 323 Duncan Lebo, the silver medalist at 10,000 metres. Nathan Rixenhain of the USA also running very well, running 5.34, but up front it's Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia, who takes the junior title by very big margin, over 30 seconds ahead of Duncan Lebo. And then Rixenhain of the USA, the best run by an American in this race for, well, nearly 20 years. Terrific performance for the young American, just ahead of Nicholas Kemboi of Kenya. And the Americans backing very well indeed, with 5th place also by Matthew Tegenkamp, just ahead of the defending champion Robert Kipchumba. So, very good victory indeed for Kenenisa Bekele, World Junior Champion. Paula Radcliffe goes once again, the winner of the long course race on day 1. She now goes in the short course race. But then Getawami is going in this race as well, determined perhaps on some revenge. Sonia O'Sullivan of Ireland has had problems recently, but there she was at the start. So off they go in this short race. Several of the winners trying to double up, not only Wami and Radcliffe, but also Marima Demboba. She was a top 10er in the long course race on day 1, and she too goes again for Ethiopia. We'll be looking once again to battle with Kenya for that team title. Now, last year there was a surprise win for Portugal in this race. Their runners headed by the former world champion at 1500 metres, Carla Sacramento, wearing 8.92. Once again, though, Radcliffe prominent at the head of the fairs, just on the right of the screen. Radcliffe wearing 7.80, there she is. But just behind her, just looking across there, was Wami. Also well up there, Asmai Legzaoui of Morocco, wearing 8.66. Two of the Kenyans a bit further back there in this lineup. Slightly surprisingly, we usually get accustomed to the sight of their whole team packing in the early stage, but it looks at the moment as the Ethiopians are best placed there. Also a number of Kenyans up there. The Ethiopians with Wami wearing 7.51, Demboba 7.41, Worknish Kidane, who ran in the World Indoor 3,000 metres, she wears 7.46. And at the back of that pack there, Benita Willis of Australia. She also ran in the World Indoor Championship. So quite a contrast here between indoor track running and outdoor cross country in this thick mud. 8.45, Rose Chariot. Second in the long course race 5 years ago. On the inside of her, 8.48, Edith Masai of Kenya. Well, she's a newcomer in the Kenyan team. Fourth in the Kenyan Armed Forces Championships early this year, really coming through to prominence. There's Willis, 6.16. Like her compatriot Craig Mottram, excelling here as a surprise. And in the white headband at the back of that pack, that's Carla Sacramento of Portugal. So the Ethiopians, Wami, Demboba and Kidane, all in that leading group. And their next runner, 7.43, Gebra Georgis. She's important as their fourth placer. They'll be looking for her to be prominent in that next group. It could be again close between Ethiopia and Kenya for the medals. Great Britain headed by Paula Radcliffe. Also got Kathy Butler up there in about 12th place. They'll be looking for minor medals. That's the leading pack, just after halfway through this race. Masai of Kenya, 8.48, was in the lead. There she is on the left of the screen there, with Radcliffe on the right. Wami will be determined to gain some revenge over Radcliffe. Demboba, always prominent. She was 8th in the long course race, and now coming back and looking for an even better position. Legzaoui of Morocco, 8.66, just behind them in 5th place. 8.54, Margaret Ngotho of Kenya. And then Naomi Mugo of Kenya wears 8.53, a former bronze medalist in this race. Butler of Great Britain in the white vest there, also prominent. So too Fidatov of Romania, number 9.03. Another Romanian, Iulia Neghiora Olteanu, twice the winner of the Women's 15k Road Championships 10 years ago. But it's Radcliffe and Rami, once again the top two, with Masai of Kenya. And could this be another epic race, as we saw on day one of these championships, between Wami and Radcliffe? Once again, Radcliffe pushing on. Smaller figure of Wami on her right, then Masai, then a gap opening up back to Demboba and Kidane and Willis and Sacramento. Three of them going away now. So the pattern very similar to the previous day. Going back down the field. Sacramento at the back of that group. But those are people fighting for lesser positions in the top 10, as it's Radcliffe from Wami, then Masai. Once again, just as in the long race, what tough women these two are, Radcliffe and Wami. They ran through the sticky mud of the long course race, 8 kilometres or thereabouts, and they've come back the next day to race again in the same conditions over 4k. And once again, it's Radcliffe doing her best to get away from Wami. Her confidence boosted by the fact that she actually out-sprinted Wami on the first day of the championships. But Wami may well be biding her time even longer. Yesterday, when she tried to come past Radcliffe, Radcliffe fought back. She got something left. Has she got it again? Or has this sticky mud taken its toll of both these runners? opening up now quite a gap back to Masai of Kenya. This is the fourth running of these World Short Course Championships for women. The previous winners, Sonia O'Sullivan, who we saw briefly at the start, then Jacqueline Maranga of Kenya, then Kutru Delecha of Ethiopia. There'll be another champion now. Both of these women, of course, have won the long course titles, which the cross-country runners will still reckon as the elite race. But now one of them is surely going to win the short course race as well. Radcliffe from Wami, then Masai, then looking round it's Denbobo, looking back to 8:45 Rose Chariot, with Willis of Australia, Sacramento of Portugal, Kidane of Ethiopia. But it's still Radcliffe just looking round to check where Wami is, and Wami, as they run into quite a stiff breeze here, Wami is just sheltering behind Radcliffe, letting Radcliffe do all the work, and that must be quite a gain. Slipstreaming effectively, the much smaller figure of Wami, and waiting, not coming up quite as soon as she does, but doesn't she look smooth again? She always does. She seems to float along. Radcliffe working hard, but Wami looking good, still just tucking in behind Radcliffe. It must be so demoralising for Radcliffe to have Wami there, but she beat her yesterday. Can she do it again? Radcliffe and Wami coming into the finish of the IAF Short Course World Championships for the year 2000. Wami looking good though. Radcliffe still fighting on as these two are still sprinting for the line. Support for Wami coming from the Ethiopian behind the wells, and Wami strikes now. Wami goes looking good, and this time can Radcliffe battle back as the top two go for the line once again? Wami it is who's going to gain some measure of revenge. Honours are shared. Wami wins the short course. Radcliffe takes second. The reverse of their positions in the long course race on the first day. Edith Masai, the first Kenyan home, in third place. Demboba of Ethiopia just behind her in a real battle, ahead of Kidane of Ethiopia. Then Willis of Australia, Sacramento. Then Rose Chariot of Kenya, Asmai Legzawi of Morocco, and more Kenyans, Ngotho and Mugo following. Well, this time, when Wami's sprint finish took her to victory over Radcliffe. She waited and waited and waited, slipstreaming behind Radcliffe before striking irrepressibly for the line. Getty Wami, the fifth world cross-country title that she's taken. But Paula Radcliffe knows that she won the big race the previous day, and what a wonderful championships for the pair of them. Wami, Radcliffe, then Masai in third place, and then great packing from the rest of the Ethiopians as they take the team title just ahead of Kenya, with Romania pipping Great Britain and Northern Ireland for third place, as Wami is acknowledged as the world short course champion for the year 2001, and Radcliffe adds silver to the gold she won on the first day. And now we come to the final race of these championships. It's the men's long course race, and the hopes of Belgium will be on this man, Mohamed Mourid, who was the champion of the year 2000, and now on home soil will be hoping for a repeat success. But the Kenyans will of course be favourites, the winner for 15 successive years from 1986, and that's their team: Ivuti, Kamathi, Korea, Kosgei, Richard Limo and Mitai. Terrific team. The Portuguese, strong as always, headed by the European champion, 4 times European champion, Paulo Guerra there, number 406. Dornelas also likely prominent, and indeed Domingos Castro, the world silver medalist at 5,000 metres right back in 1987. Well, the Kenyans have been so dominant in recent years, 15 successive wins. The Ethiopians, of course, the winners the 5 years before then, back in the 1980s. It was Kenya, Ethiopia, Portugal, the 1, 2, 3, in both 1999 and 2000, on the familiar side of the Kenyans. 3.26, Enoch Mitai, the newcomer to their team, just ahead of 3.25, Richard Limo. 3.22, Paul Kosgei, the former world junior recorder of the steeplechase. They're moving up to the longer distances. He's previously won the run in the 4K at these championships before. 3.24, 3.26 rather, Mitai. Kenyans always running as a team. They often send one of their less experienced members to just take the pace out, and that may well be the job assigned to Mitai this time. But there's Morit, number 55, prominent, the man who won last year, having previously been 7th, 8th and 5th. World Championship bronze medalist, of course, at 5,000 metres on the track, and recently the world indoor silver medalist at 3,000 metres, to show he's in great form. As we look down the massed ranks of 170 starters in this long course race. Kenya very much prominent in the early stages. A lot of Europeans though up there, which is encouraging, because they didn't do very well in the short course race. The Spaniards were 155. Alberto Garcia there in the centre of the screen, he's prominent. He was 3rd in the World Indoor 3,000 metres, so a number of the finalists there running again over the country. 3:13 right on the left of the screen, that's Charles Kamathi. Well, what a great race he had against Mohamed Morit when he first emerged on the scene 2 years ago at 10,000 metres in Brussels, when Kamathi astonished Morit by beating him. Morit set a European record that day. Good to see Bob Kennedy there, the American, the bearded man, coming back. He missed a lot of last year through injury, but really running very prominently indeed. That's the American record holder at 3,000 metres and 5,000 metres. Americans having a good championships here, with Britzenheim taking the bronze in the junior race. It's Morit, number 55, in the lead. And the rest of the Kenyans, Richard Limo, 3:25, former Commonwealth bronze medalist at 5,000 metres. 3:22, just behind Morit is Paul Kosgei. He must be one of the favourites, 2nd in the Kenyan trials. The Kenyans, of course, missing Paul Tergat this year. He was 3rd in their trials, but has decided to, for once, forsake the cross-country, at which he's been world champion 5 times, in order to concentrate on preparing for his marathon debut in London in a month's time. 3:13, Kamathi. 3:22, Kosgei with Morit. And number 200, he's prominent, the Frenchman, Driss El Hima, 3rd in the European Championships last year. And indeed, there's a lot of prominent Europeans up there. Sergei Lebed of the Ukraine, 2nd in the European Championships, former winner of that race. He wears 5:13. He's going well. Well, the Europeans had a disastrous race in the short course championships, when their best placer was 20th, and indeed in the junior men's you had to go right the way back to 35th place to find the first European. But there are quite a lot prominent in that leading group, and also one man from South America there, with Silio of Argentina, who wears number 22. Ethiopians not so prominent at the moment, slightly surprisingly. They've got Ad Masu wearing 180. It's their leading placer at present. But it's still fairly early stages in this 12-kilometre race at present. 3:13, Kamathi. 3:12, that's Patrick Ivuti. Ivuti was 4th last year. He was 3rd in the recent Kenyan Armed Force Championships. But Guerra of Portugal also running very well, the fair-haired man wearing 4:06. And some of the Kenyans tracking back a bit, slightly surprisingly. 3:26, Mitai we just saw going through there. But 3 of them prominent at the head of affairs. 3:13, Kamathi. 3:22, Kosgei. 3:12, Ivuti. Further down, 5:29, Kefsazigi for the Americans. Americans packing well with Kennedy and Kefsazigi and Abdi Rahman, number 5:16. So they must be in contention for a team medal. So Kamathi now in the lead. Then Morit. Then 3:12, just putting his hand out there, that's Ivuti. Paulo Guerra, 4:06 on the inside. El Hima, the Frenchman, wearing 200. Lebed of the Ukraine, wearing 3:13, just behind that leading group. 4:10, Helder Ornelas of Portugal. He, like Guerra, running really well and packing well for the Portuguese team, who were the bronze medalist on the last 2 occasions that these championships have been run. Championships often vary in conditions. Sometimes we get very flat, hard conditions over horse race tracks. Well, this is a horse race track, but it's muddy here in Ostend in Belgium. The championships, of course, which had to be diverted here at very short notice, originally due to be held in Dublin, Ireland, cancelled because of the foot and mouth crisis, and the championships have been awarded to Dublin next year. They were first switched to Brussels in Belgium, but then with the realization that there was much more hotel accommodation in Ostend, the seaside holiday resort, and they were switched here. Belgian championships were held here a week ago, and now they're doing an excellent job of staging these World Cross-Country Championships. It's the leading group with the three Kenyans, with Mohit of Belgium, and the hopes of the crowd very much on for him to repeat the win that he gained last year. El Hima of France in the blue, Ornelas of Portugal and Guerra of Portugal up there in the leading group. Looking back down, 5-2-9. That's Keflezighi of the USA we're seeing again. And once again, the Americans running well. Stefko of Slovakia also up there, running 4-4-1. And another Frenchman, Mustafa El Hamadi, in that leading group. Mustafa El Hamadi wearing 1-9-9. But Mohit it is who takes up the running. A long way still to go, but it's stretching them. Kamathi there, 3-1-3. Then the Portuguese, Guerra and Ornelas. And then Lebed. Lebed's got a good race record, I must say. The 25-year-old Ukrainian. Terrific series of wins this season in Valladolid and in Seville and in Fuensalida. Quite interesting, many of these men actually ran in the recent 5 Mills race. Well, the order on that occasion was Kamathi, Lebed, Mohit and Guerra. And then going back to muddy conditions in Seville, it was Kamathi, Lebed, Guerra and Mohit. But this time Mohit seems to be likely to finish a little higher up. 157, Alejandro Gomez of Spain, running in around 10th place. But now, slipping in these tricky conditions, it's Mohit in the lead. Mohit wanting to strike for home from Paul Kosgei. Mohit it is, opening up perhaps a bit of a gap here. Terrific support there'll be from the home crowd. Mohamed Mohit, who overcame the teamwork of the Kenyans to win in 2000. And now looks like he may well be heading for a repeat victory here in Ostend. He's certainly stretching away now, Mohit, from Kosgei, who seems to be spent. Mohit opening up more and more of a gap, and Kosgei looks back over his shoulder. Very different conditions from when Mohit ran in Vila Moura in Portugal a year ago. But now stretching away. There's still a long way to go in this race, but Mohit has opened up a significant gap. Interesting that he should want to and feel good enough to strike for home so early in this race. Still a couple of kilometres to go. With looking back, it's Kosgei, then the Frenchman El Hima. Just behind him, another Kenyan, Ivuti. And the crowd building excitement as they can see Mohit out on his own. The next group of 6 or 7 men, though pretty closely bunched. Mohit goes through, just a lap to go. Here's Kosgei. Guerra running well, just behind El Hima, with the other 2 Kenyans still up there. Ivuti wearing 3-1-2, Kamathi 3-1-3. Ivuti now a little bit more prominent, has moved into second place. Lebed at the back there in the blue and yellow of Ukraine, still trying to stick with them. Then Ornelas of Portugal in 8th place. There's Mohit, lovely shot of a man spattered with mud but running strongly. Lebed here, he's just lost a little bit of ground, back in 7th place. Ornelas in 8th. Gomez in 9th behind them. Mohit, not far to go now, just checks round to see how he's going, and the answer is that he's got a good lead on the chasing pack. It's a lap runner. Look at that gap. There we are, there's the next group. Guerra now has moved into 2nd place, just ahead of Kamathi. So the Moroccan-born, now Belgian citizen, Mohamed Mohit on home soil in Ostend, strikes out for the finish. The winner in Portugal, in Vila Moura in the year 2000. And now, surely, the winner in Ostend in Belgium, the IAAF long race world champion for the second year in a row, Mohamed Mourad, silver medalist on the track indoors at 3,000 metres, bronze medalist at 5,000 metres outdoors 2 years ago, and now for the second time, world cross-country champion, Mohamed Mourad winning for Belgium. And what a battle there is behind him for the runners-up space, and Lebed has come all the way through the field. He looked tailed off at one time. He comes through for second. Kamathi takes third. Paulo Guerra for Portugal is fourth. Then Paul Kosgei of Kenya. Dressel Hima of France just pattering across the line. Just ahead of Patrick Avuti of Kenya. 3 Kenyans already in. Then Ornelas of Portugal. But up front, it was Mohamed Mourad. Quite a battle then for the lesser places. El Hamadi of France just ahead of Bob Kennedy of the USA. Looking back for the 4th Kenyan. There he comes now, in fact. I think it may be enough to take them to the team victory. Enoch Mitai finishing in 18th place as Mourad. We look back and seeing him blow kisses to the crowd as he is once again world cross-country champion.